ChangAn Tianxia. Chapter 1. The morning fog in Chang'an City has not yet dissipated, and the market has become noisy. The arithmetic master Gu Heng brushed his sleeves, and a trace of confusion flashed in his eyes. He was originally just an ordinary academy teacher, good at numerology and deduction, but now he appeared in a completely unfamiliar world. The market in front of me is no longer just a scene described in a book, but a real noise and mud, with the words Chang'an Mansion written on the store sign, and the black-clad court officials walking by, their eyes sharp. Gu Heng raised his hand and touched his waist, and was shocked to find that his clothes had turned into a blue shirt, with bamboo slips and abacus hanging from his waist. He was shocked. Isn't this the world of the book he wore into, ChangAn Tianxia? What's even more heart-pounding is that he clearly remembers the ending of the book. The 5 horses are dismembered. In any case, he came through the book, and the road ahead is extremely dangerous. Chapter 2. Just as Gu Heng was hesitating, a group of teenagers rushed into the market. Their whistling sounds were harsh, and one of the teenagers had sharp eyes and a strong body, pushing and shoving another thin man. Gu Heng's pupils shrank and he recognized, the thin man was the future emperor, and the person who pushed him was one of the villains in the late stages of the book. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the young man's shoulder, and said softly, "Don't be impatient, you bully people like this, you will only cause trouble." The young man was stunned for a moment, his eyes flashed with dissatisfaction, but Gu Heng felt that there was some kind of irreversible coercion in his tone. The emperor boy raised his eyes to look at him, his eyes revealed subtle trust, and Gu Heng secretly calculated in his heart, this moment is a keynote in establishing future student relationships. Chapter 3. In the academy, Gu Heng was sitting in the lecture hall, and the students in front of him were completely different from the descriptions in the book. On the right sat the future iron-blooded emperor, his eyes were deep and his demeanor was cold, and every time he turned the book, it seemed to provoke Gu Heng's patience. On the left, the young assassination leader sat down quietly, with a smile in his eyes, but there was a hint of coldness that made people dare not be careless. The young corrupt official had already put on an indifferent attitude, lazily flipping over the bamboo slips, with disdain on the corners of his mouth. Although the eunuch leader was the youngest, he had already learned to please and calculate, and his eyes flashed, as if he knew the secret of Gu Heng's identity. Gu Heng thought to himself, these students will become the core figures of their respective forces in the future, and he must find a balance between the established trajectory in the book and the actual actions. Chapter 4. In the evening, Gu Heng walked alone in the backyard of the academy, calculating the personality interaction between the students in his mind. Suddenly, with a soft sound, a young shadow slid behind him like a ghost. It was the assassination leader. "Master, do you know how cruel the future game will be?" The young man asked in a low voice, his tone provocative, but he vaguely revealed his curiosity about Gu Heng's arithmetic. Gu Heng smiled slightly and said softly, "Cruelty is a foregone conclusion, but whether you can change it depends on yourself." The assassin's eyes flashed, and for the first time, he showed true respect for Gu Heng, although it was only for a short moment. Gu Heng secretly calculated in his heart, if this student can be guided a little, maybe the bloody situation in the future can be eased a little. Chapter 5. The night in Chang'an City was gloomy, and Gu Heng returned to the dormitory to deduce the incident of the male protagonist being bullied in the book. If I don't intervene, he will suffer more in the future. Gu Heng's heart was heavy, he had to find a way that would not violate history and protect the male protagonist. He opened the bamboo slip, arranged and combined the student's personality and behavior trajectory, and used arithmetic to simulate every important event in the next few years. In the midst of mental calculations, he suddenly realized, assassination leader, iron-blooded emperor, big corrupt official, eunuch leader. Everyone's actions imply a subtle chain of cause and effect, and these causes and effects point to the danger of the male protagonist. Gu Heng looked up at the night in Chang'an outside the window, and his determination was made. He wanted to change the ending of the book, even if the road ahead was full of dangers. Chapter 6. The next morning, Gu Heng assigned the first class, titled Yin Yang Numerology and Human Nature Analysis. The students looked at each other, curious and wary of the master's teaching. The iron-blooded emperor raised his hand and asked, "Master, can the arithmetic you say predict the future?" Gu Heng chuckled, "Predict the future? No, I can only calculate cause and effect and opportunity, and it is still up to you to decide how to act." The students were silent, secretly assessing the teacher's power in their hearts, while Gu Heng was also observing everyone's reactions and preparing for the next plan. Chapter 7. In the afternoon, Gu Heng set up a chessboard in the backyard of the academy, and the chess pieces symbolized various forces and figures, and he used arithmetic to calculate the optimal strategy for each move. The big corrupt official looked at the chessboard and said lazily, "Can this abacus game change our future?" Gu Heng's eyes were sharp, and he slowly dropped his chess pieces. "Every step is about fate, and your choices determine the outcome." The young man who was the leader of the assassination had his eyes flashed, quietly calculating the position on the chessboard, and thought to himself, "This master is not only teaching, but also playing a game of fate." The iron-blooded emperor boy frowned slightly, tapping his fingers on the edge of the chessboard, silently observing Gu Heng's every move, as if he had felt the breath of the future battlefield. Chapter 8. At dusk, Gu Heng walked alone on the blue stone path in the backyard of the academy. The breeze blew on his face, bringing a mixed fragrance of earth and osmanthus. The assassination leader boy quietly followed him, his footsteps almost silent, like a ghost. Gu Heng stopped and smiled slightly. "Are you eavesdropping again?" The young man's eyes flickered as he whispered, "Master, you are so thorough in your calculations. Who would dare not eavesdrop?" Gu Heng nodded lightly, his eyes turned to the ChangAn city wall in the distance, and he muttered in his heart, "This young man will become the deadliest assassin in the future, and his character, if not guided, will directly threaten the safety of the male protagonist. Every step in the future may make you lose yourself." Gu Heng whispered, his words were like an arithmetic formula, silently but accurately cut into the young man's heart. The young man was slightly stunned, and for the first time in his heart, he was in awe of the master, and he also vaguely felt that this teacher not only knew arithmetic, but also mastered the variables of the future. Chapter 9. In the lecture hall of the academy, Gu Heng designed a special topic, Destiny in the Way of Arithmetic. The iron-blooded emperor boy frowned, raised his hand defiantly, and said, "Master, can you calculate my future?" Gu Heng's eyes flashed with a faint coldness, and he tapped the bamboo slip with his fingers. "The future is not a simple number, but the sum of the causal chain. If you force yourself to go against the grain, you will bring about your own destruction." The big corrupt official leaned against the window, with a smile on his lips. No matter how good the master's arithmetic is, can he calculate the chance of climbing to an official position? Gu Heng smiled slightly, struck the abacus, and the bell rang, like an alarm bell of fate. Official positions, power, and even life and death have formulas, but the variables of people's hearts are something you must learn to control yourself. The students' hearts moved slightly, and for the first time, they realized that this master mastered not only numerology, but also the precise deduction of life and intrigue. Chapter 10. As night fell, the lights in the academy were dim, and Gu Heng quietly arranged another chess game. What is placed on the chessboard is not only the chess pieces, but also the future trajectory of the students, the big corrupt official, the assassination leader, the iron-blooded emperor, and the eunuch leader. Each position marks danger and opportunity. He whispered, "This chess game is your destiny and my arithmetic." The assassination leader young man quietly approached, his eyes flashing with a cold light. "Master, are you not afraid that we will turn the situation around?" Gu Heng smiled slightly, his eyes deepened. "Reversal? That's the most interesting part, and I want to see if you can survive the crisis and change the future." The young man was slightly shocked, and for the first time he felt that this master not only mastered arithmetic, but also took control of life and death and the future. Chapter 11. Gu Heng walked around the backyard of the academy, observing the behavior and personality of the students, and silently calculating the possible crises in the future one by one. Although the eunuch leader is the youngest, he is good at observation and often inadvertently sees the weaknesses of others. Gu Heng thought to himself, if this child is not guided, he will become the biggest hidden danger in the inner court in the future. He took out the bamboo slip from his bosom and began to write down the behavior patterns of each student, comparing them with future events recorded in the book, trying to find the best path to intervene. Every step of the calculation was like giving orders to the future, and he muttered in a low voice, "If you do it right, the blood and intrigue in the future may be reduced." The moonlight shone through the shadows of the trees, and Gu Heng's shadow was elongated, as if he had become the controller of fate, cold and determined. Chapter 12. One night, Gu Heng met the future iron-blooded emperor in the courtyard. The boy was practicing swordsmanship alone, his eyes as sharp as a knife. "Master, do you think I can become a king?" the young man asked. His tone was tentative and provocative. Gu Heng raised his eyes, smiling calmly. "Whether you can become king or not depends not on arithmetic, but on your choices and actions." The young man's sword suddenly changed, as if refuting the master's words, but there was a faint sense of respect in his heart. Gu Heng secretly calculated in his heart, if the iron-blooded emperor boy is guided a little, the future will be a double-edged sword, which can not only protect the male protagonist, but also become the biggest threat. At this moment, the moonlight was like silver, and the breaths of the two intertwined in the courtyard, forming a silent confrontation of power. Chapter 13. The next day, an academic competition was held in the college, and Gu Heng arranged for each student to take turns solving difficult math problems. The big corrupt official boy took the lead in showing it, calculating accurately, but slightly scheming, trying to use arithmetic to cover up his true intentions. Gu Heng nodded silently and secretly deduced, if this child does not control his ambitions, he will fall into the abyss of corruption in the future. The assassination leader boy cleverly avoided the trap of the question, showing extraordinary agility and judgment. Gu Heng secretly calculated in his heart, each of these students is a variable in the future, and he is the arithmetic master who controls these variables. Chapter 14. After dusk, Gu Heng arranged a special night arithmetic trial in the backyard of the academy. He used bamboo slips in light and shadow to set up a maze, allowing students to solve various hidden traps at night. The eunuch leader and young man were the first to enter the maze, walking cautiously, with shrewdness and cunning in his eyes. The iron-blooded young emperor rushed in directly with a fierce momentum, and every step he took was full of murderous intent and decisiveness. Gu Heng stood in the center of the maze, smiled slightly, and whispered, "This trial is not only arithmetic, but also a test of future destiny." Students compete against each other in a maze of intertwined light and shadow and arithmetic, forming a turbulent psychological and intellectual duel with turbulent currents. Chapter 15. Late at night, the light and shadow flickered in the maze, and the assassination leader boy and the iron-blooded emperor boy encountered traps at the same time. Gu Heng observed the calculations on the bamboo slips, gesturing with his fingers in the air, and quickly calculated the best way to intervene. "Adjust your direction a little, and you can avoid danger," he guided in a low voice, his voice calm but with unquestionable coercion. The two teenagers suddenly felt an invisible force controlling the situation, and for the first time, they truly realized that Gu Heng's arithmetic was not just a number, but the power to control life, death, and destiny. The light and shadow of the maze slowly dissipated, and the students, in their unsettled fear, developed a feeling of awe and curiosity towards the master. Chapter 16. The next morning, Gu Heng assigned a new topic in the lecture hall, the interweaving of intrigue and arithmetic. He used bamboo slips to show each student's possible future action path and emphasized the importance of every choice. "Your actions will directly affect the fate of the male protagonist." Gu Heng's tone was calm, and his eyes swept over all the students. The corners of the young man's mouth curled slightly, and he secretly thought about how to use the master's arithmetic to improve his official position. A hint of surprise flashed in the eyes of the assassination leader boy, and he understood for the first time that this master was not teaching, but controlling the chess game of fate. Chapter 17. In the backyard of the academy, Gu Heng observed the interaction of the students, and he used arithmetic to calculate the most likely conflict points. The young eunuch leader quietly approached the young iron-blooded emperor, trying to provoke conflict with him through trickery. Gu Heng whispered, any contradiction has a solution and an extended danger, and it must be accurately controlled. He quickly recorded various possible outcomes on the bamboo slip, mentally calculating each branch path, as if designing a sophisticated wealthy drama. The students have unknowingly been guided into a complex web of destiny by the master, and he is the center of this network. Chapter 18. At night, Gu Heng flipped through the bamboo slips in the academy to calculate the trajectory of events in the next few years. He realized that assassinating leaders, iron-blooded emperors, corrupt officials, and eunuch leaders. Everyone's character and behavior can change history. Gu Heng looked up at the lights of ChangAn City outside the window, and secretly thought to himself, how to rewrite the tragic ending established in the book while protecting the male protagonist. He whispered, the ending of the 5 horses can be avoided, but every choice is full of risks. The moonlight shines through the window lattice and on the bamboo slips and abacus, reflecting the cold and determined figure of the master. Chapter 19. Early the next morning, Gu Heng decided to personally intervene in the students' movements. The iron-blooded emperor boy was about to challenge the male protagonist's territory, and Gu Heng immediately took action and used numerology to deduce the best time to intervene. He walked up to the young man, his tone was flat but oppressive, your actions may cause unnecessary bloodshed, wait a little longer to achieve the real goal. The young man's eyes flickered, and he thought to himself, the master's arithmetic is exquisite, and every sentence is like a piece on an abacus, accurate and obedient. Gu Heng smiled secretly, calculating in his heart, every major event in the future, he must plan in advance, this is the only way to protect the male protagonist and the entire ChangAn world. Chapter 20. In the afternoon, in the courtyard of the academy, Gu Heng set up a special arithmetic competition covering intrigue, military strategy, and human nature analysis. The young corrupt official, the young assassination leader, the young iron-blooded emperor and the young eunuch leader all participated, and the atmosphere was tense. Gu Heng smiled and slowly tapped the bamboo slip, the sound echoing in the courtyard like a bell, every choice will bring irreversible results, and you must bear the consequences yourself. The students waited with bated breath that this arithmetic competition was not only a contest of knowledge, but also a prelude to future power and destiny. Light and shadow sprinkled through the shadows of the trees, and the figures of everyone in the courtyard were intertwined, as if the future world of ChangAn was unfolding at this moment, and Gu Heng was the arithmetic master who controlled all this. Chapter 21. The night is dark, and the streets and alleys of ChangAn City seem to be asleep, but the backyard of the academy is brightly lit. Gu Heng carefully calculated the events of the next year on the bamboo slip, his fingers gesturing in the air, as if outlining an invisible map of destiny. The iron-blooded emperor boy quietly walked to his side and said in a provocative tone, Master, can you really change history? Gu Heng smiled slightly, with deep meaning in his eyes, history is not unchangeable, but whether you can live to reach the point of change. The young man's heart trembled slightly, and for the first time he felt that what this teacher held was not only arithmetic, but the power of the entire destiny. In the distance, the assassination leader boy was hiding in the shadow of the tree, his eyes flashing with cold light. He understood, every step laid by the master was like a trap, and no one could easily cross it. Chapter 22. Early the next morning, there were hurried footsteps in the academy, and the young corrupt official rushed into the lecture hall with a solemn expression. Master, there are students who are causing trouble. He reported angrily, with a hint of malice in his eyes. Gu Heng raised his eyebrows slightly and said calmly, Tell me, who is disrupting the situation? The young corrupt official hesitated for a moment, and then revealed the plan secretly instigated by the assassination leader and the eunuch leader. Gu Heng nodded lightly, and had already calculated the best response plan in his heart, let them hit a wall by themselves, mistakes are the best teachers. The students looked at each other, and for the first time, they felt that the master was not just teaching, but secretly manipulating the situation, like a chess player controlling the chessboard. Chapter 23. In the afternoon, Gu Heng led the students to conduct a simulated battle titled Balance of Power in ChangAn City. The iron-blooded emperor boy held a sword and his eyes were sharp, leading the other students to set up formations, while the assassination leader boy set traps in the dark. Gu Heng thought to himself, this group of students will become the center of the storm in ChangAn City in the future, and he must intervene in advance to protect the male protagonist from being bullied. He pointed out, his voice calm but oppressive, any action must consider cause and effect, and if you make a mistake, the whole situation may collapse. The students were silent, understanding that every word of the master implied the laws of arithmetic and fate, which was a silent education of conspiracy. Chapter 24. At dusk, Gu Heng set up a new arithmetic topic in the courtyard, future choices. The young corrupt official frowned, the young assassination leader smiled, the young iron-blooded emperor had cold eyes, and the young eunuch leader quietly observed his surroundings. Gu Heng whispered, every choice may change the future, you must learn to weigh the pros and cons. Through the interweaving of arithmetic and strategy, students gradually understand that this is not just a topic, but a future battle between life and death and power. The night wind blew, and the bamboo slit made a faint sound, as if whispering, the scales of fate have long been quietly controlled by the master. Chapter 25. Late at night, Gu Heng flipped through ancient books in the library of the academy and studied the power structure of ChangAn City. He found that there was a potential conflict between the assassination leader and the future iron-blooded emperor boy, and the eunuch leader could become a potential internal threat. Gu Heng laughed secretly in his heart. Controlling these variables requires both arithmetic and precise deduction of psychology and strategy. He lists multiple possible event branches on the bamboo slip, detailing the consequences of each conversation and action, as if designing a huge chess game. Gu Heng muttered in a low voice, I must plan in advance for the blood and intrigue in the future in order to keep the fate of the male protagonist. Chapter 26. Early the next morning, Gu Heng led the students to conduct night training to simulate the assassination and power conflict in ChangAn City. The young assassin leader is agile, the young eunuch leader wins by wits, the young corrupt official is scheming, and the young iron-blooded emperor is fierce and powerful. Gu Heng stood on a high place, tapping the bamboo slit with his fingers, calculating each optimal solution and risk, calculate before acting, and the victory or defeat will naturally be clear. The students experienced the combination of arithmetic and action for the first time, and for the first time, they were in awe of the master. Gu Heng secretly calculated in his heart, this group of students will be a force to be underestimated in the future, and he must control every causal line. Chapter 27. In the evening, a mysterious figure appeared in the academy, his clothes were like ink, and his breath was cold. He called himself a hidden arithmetic and said in a low voice, Master, your arithmetic has attracted uninvited guests. Gu Heng raised his eyes, smiled and calmed, uninvited guest? Arithmetic is just a tool, and I am the one who really controls it. The mysterious man smiled faintly, with a hint of murderous intent in his eyes, as if he knew all of Gu Heng's layout in advance. Gu Heng thought to himself, the real challenge has just begun, and he must use arithmetic and wisdom to meet this unknown storm. Chapter 28. Late at night, Gu Heng walked alone in the bamboo forest in the backyard of the academy. The moonlight was like water, and the bamboo leaves were fluttering. He secretly deduced the events of the next 3 years in his heart, and every step would affect the safety of the male protagonist and the fate of ChangAn City. The iron-blooded emperor boy quietly appeared in a cold tone, Master, you are thorough, but can you control people's hearts? Gu Heng smiled and tapped his fingers on the bamboo slip. The human heart is like a number, there are rules and variables, and only by mastering the rules can we change the future. The young man retreated silently, realizing for the first time that the master's wisdom was far beyond his imagination, and his arithmetic was not only a number, but also a law to control fate. Chapter 29. The next morning, Gu Heng led the students to conduct a strategic simulation. each playing a different role in the role. The young corrupt official manipulates resources with political strategies, the young assassination leader lurks in the dark, the young iron-blooded emperor leads the army, and the young eunuch leader makes secret plans. Gu Heng observed, calculated every variable and possible outcome, and gave hints and guidance at critical moments. The students gradually understood that this is not a simple topic, but a simulation of life and death and power, and that any mistake may affect the future. Gu Heng whispered to himself, every chess piece has a destiny, but I am the only one who controls the chess game. Chapter 30. At night, Gu Heng overlooked ChangAn City from the roof of the academy, with lights shining brightly, like a chessboard. He tapped the bamboo slip with his fingers to calculate the best intervention point for each student's future actions. He knew clearly that the young assassination leader was lurking on the street corner, the young iron-blooded emperor was practicing swordsmanship in the palace, and the young corrupt official and the chief eunuch were each making their own plans. Gu Heng whispered, every assassination in the future, every power struggle, and even the life and death of the male protagonist are within my arithmetic. The moonlight shone down, and Gu Heng's shadow intertwined with the light and shadow cast on the bamboo slip, as if the entire ChangAn world was being controlled by a master of arithmetic. Chapter 36. As night fell, the walls of ChangAn City faintly revealed fire, as if to foreshadow the blood and conspiracy in the future. Gu Heng stood on the high ground of the academy, the bamboo slips were spread out, his eyes were cold and focused. He whispered, tonight, the chess game will usher in the first round of real test. The assassination leader boy quietly appeared, his steps as light as a ghost, his eyes fixed on Gu Heng's every gesture. Gu Heng smiled slightly, gesturing with his fingers in the air, deducing all possible reactions and future actions of students. In the courtyard, light and shadow intertwined, and the arithmetic symbols on the bamboo slips flickered slightly in the moonlight, as if the entire city of ChangAn was under his control. Chapter 37. The next morning, in the academy, the iron-blooded emperor boy and the assassination leader teenager had a conflict over yesterday's simulation tactics. Gu Heng said in a deep voice, your conflict will determine the situation in the next few years, and if you are not careful, it will bring irreversible consequences. The big corrupt official boy sneered, secretly calculating how to use this conflict to climb power, while the eunuch leader boy observed the situation in the dark and waited for the opportunity. Gu Heng whispered, to control the situation, it is not only arithmetic, but also to grasp people's hearts and cause and effect. For the first time, the students truly felt that this master was not a simple teacher, but the controller of the entire situation, and every step of his layout was affecting the future direction of ChangAn. Chapter 38. In the afternoon, Gu Heng arranged a special mock exam. The topic was the balance between conspiracy and assassination in ChangAn City. The young assassination leader shuttles through the simulated scene like a ghost, the iron-blooded emperor boy leads the students to organize defense, the big corrupt official boy controls resources, and the eunuch leader secretly lays traps. Gu Heng stood on a high place, his eyes were cold, the symbols on the bamboo slips were quickly arranged, and he was plotting the possibility of every branch in his heart. Every choice changes the future. Gu Heng whispered, his tone calm but oppressive. The students held their breath and gradually understood that this was not just an exam, but a test of future power and destiny. Chapter 39. Late at night, in the backyard of the academy, Gu Heng sat quietly in the bamboo forest. The moonlight was like water, and the bamboo leaves were fluttering, reflecting his cold and determined face. He carefully deduced the trajectory of events over the next 3 years, assassinations, coups, and power struggles, with every line arranged precisely on his bamboo slip. The blood in the future can be alleviated slightly, but it will never be completely eliminated. Gu Heng whispered to himself. The assassination leader boy quietly appeared, his eyes flashing, Master, can you really control everything? Gu Heng smiled and tapped the bamboo slip with his finger. Control is not absolute, but accurate prediction and intervention. The breaths of the two were intertwined, and the night seemed to envelop the entire ChangAn world, and danger and opportunity existed at the same time. Chapter 40. Early the next morning, Gu Heng arranged for students to conduct a practical simulation to simulate the assassination and power struggle in ChangAn City. The young assassin leader is as agile as the wind, the young iron-blooded emperor is fierce and powerful, the young corrupt official is scheming, and the young eunuch leader is as cunning as a fox. Gu Heng observed from the sidelines, his fingers quickly calculating every step on the bamboo slip, adjusting the strategies of all parties. If you take a wrong step, you may miss the opportunity and it may also lead to disaster. He reminded in a low voice, his tone calm but coercive. The students waited with bated breath, realizing for the first time that this master was not only teaching, but also a traitor who controlled their destiny. Underscore 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 on. Chapter 41. The night in ChangAn City was deep. Inside the academy, Gu Heng summoned all the students to arrange an ultimate test of arithmetic and political strategy. Bamboo slips intertwine with light and shadow, and the courtyard turns into a maze, and each student's actions will affect others. The young iron-blooded emperor is approaching the center step by step, the young assassination leader is waiting in the dark, the young corrupt official is calculating resources, and the young eunuch leader is skilled in strategy. Gu Heng tapped the bamboo slip with his fingers, and every tap was like giving an order to ChangAn. He whispered, "This trial is not just arithmetic, but also the epitome of your future actions." The students competed against each other in the maze of light and shadow, and for the first time they truly understood that this master was not just a number, but a global destiny. Underscore 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 on. Chapter 42. At midnight, in the maze, the assassination leader boy and the iron-blooded emperor boy encountered a trap at the same time. Gu Heng calmly deduced every possible ending and gave subtle hints at the most critical moments to allow the two to avoid the crisis. The young corrupt official secretly observed, trying to find a way to break the situation, while the young eunuch deftly manipulated the situation and looked for an advantage. Gu Heng smiled and whispered, "Any mistake may lead to irreversible consequences, but every choice is an opportunity to learn." The light and shadow of the maze gradually dissipated, and the students' awe and trust in the master grew simultaneously. Underscore 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 on. Chapter 43. The next morning, Gu Heng assigned a new topic in the lecture hall, future choices in arithmetic strategies. He used bamboo slips to demonstrate the possible choices and consequences of each student, emphasizing the importance of cause and effect in action. While listening to the lecture, the students thought, every small choice may change the pattern of ChangAn. Gu Heng whispered, "Master the numbers and people's hearts, and you will be able to gain a firm foothold in the future." Outside the courtyard, the morning mist of ChangAn City was like smoke, reflecting the cold and focused figure of the master, like a god who controls fate. Underscore 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 on. Chapter 44. In the afternoon, Gu Heng led the students to conduct a simulated tactical exercise, and the scene was set to the main power areas in ChangAn City. The young iron-blooded emperor is fierce and powerful, the young assassination leader moves like a ghost, the young corrupt official controls resources, and the young eunuch leader makes cunning plans. Gu Heng observed from a high place, the symbols on the bamboo slip flashed endlessly, and every action was accurately calculated. Your actions are not only strategies, but also touchstones of fate. He whispered, his tone calm but unchallengeable. The students held their breath and deeply understood for the first time, this master mastered not only arithmetic, but also the overall strategy of life and death and the future. Underscore 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 on. Chapter 45. Late at night, Gu Heng walked alone on the roof of the academy overlooking ChangAn City, and the lights were like a chess game. The bamboo slip and abacus flickered in the moonlight, and he secretly calculated the actions and risks of each student in the next 3 years. The assassination leader boy quietly appeared in a low tone, "Master, can you control everything?" Gu Heng smiled and tapped his finger on the bamboo slip. Control is not absolute, but precise intervention and prediction. ChangAn City was silent in the night, the light and shadow of bamboo slips intertwined with the moonlight, and Gu Heng's shadow was like the god of fate, cold and determined. Underscore 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 on. Chapter 46. The next day, there was an emergency in the academy. The male protagonist was surrounded by several students, and Gu Heng immediately intervened. The young iron-blooded emperor stopped, the young assassination leader hesitated, the young corrupt official smiled, and the young eunuch chief observed secretly. Gu Heng said coldly, "Any bullying is the seed of future disasters." He quickly deduced with his fingers on the bamboo slip and calculated the best intervention plan, which instantly stabilized the situation. For the first time, the students realized that the master could not only do arithmetic, but also control the cause and effect of the entire scene. Chapter 47. In the afternoon, Gu Heng set up a new topic, the ultimate fusion of intrigue and arithmetic. Students need to combine strategy, arithmetic, and psychological analysis to complete simulation tasks. The assassination leader is a clever young man, the iron-blooded emperor is a decisive young man, the corrupt official is a scheming young man, and the eunuch leader is a cunning young man. The four of them have their own methods. Gu Heng observed, tapping his fingers on the bamboo slip, deducing the possible consequences of each step. Master cause and effect, and you will be able to go further in the future. Gu Heng whispered, his tone was calm and full of coercion. Chapter 48. At night, in the courtyard of the academy, Gu Heng arranged for students to conduct actual combat simulations. Assassination, conspiracy, and protection of the male protagonist were intertwined. In the light and shadow of the maze, the young assassination leader and the young iron-blooded emperor are juggling between cooperation and competition, while the young corrupt official and the young eunuch leader are secretly making plans. Gu Heng tapped the bamboo slip with his fingers, controlling fate every time. He whispered, "Every action will determine the future, failure and success are in your hands." The students waited with bated breath and deeply experienced the intertwining of arithmetic and destiny for the first time. Chapter 49. In the early morning, Gu Heng deduced the last round of arithmetic and intrigue alone, and every symbol on the bamboo slip beat like life. He knows that the ending of the book is tragic, but as long as he grasps the cause and effect and choices of the students, there is still a chance to rewrite it. The actions of the young iron-blooded emperor, the young assassination leader, the young corrupt official, and the young eunuch chief have all been predicted and guided by him. Gu Heng whispered, "The future is no longer just a tragedy, but a ChangAn world decided by ourselves." The moonlight shines down, and his shadow elongates, like the controller of the fate of the entire city. Chapter 50. The morning light appeared, the courtyard of the academy was quiet, the light and shadow of the bamboo slips and abacus flickered, and Gu Heng stood in the center. The students surrounded them, their eyes filled with awe and gratitude, and the conflicts and doubts of the past dissipated. Gu Heng smiled and whispered, "From today onwards, the fate of ChangAn will be jointly controlled by you and me." The male protagonist stood aside unharmed, his eyes revealing trust and gratitude, and the future crisis would slowly unfold under the layout of this arithmetic master. The bamboo slips flickered with light and shadow, and the wind moved in the courtyard, as if the fate of the entire ChangAn city had been reshaped, and Gu Heng undoubtedly became the wise man who controlled it all.